Hi everybody and welcome back to another edition of Plastic Models by a Regular Dude. Today I'm going to talk about my next project, which is going to be an Asuka Sherman. If you watch my channel much, you know that I mention the Sherman quite a bit. It is my all-time favorite armored vehicle. With specific ones being more favorites than others, but I really like Shermans. Part of the reason is probably because the first armor model I ever built was the old 1/32 scale monogram excuse me, version of the Sherman called the Screamin' Mimi. It was an M4A3 hull with the Calliope rocket launchers on top. That was my first armor kit, and from then on I built tons and tons of kits, but the Sherman has always been my favorite. So I've built a few on the channel here, and I've been building some other stuff, and now it's time to take a break from one of my other projects and start working on a Sherman. So let me whip the camera around here and we'll take a look and see what we've got. Alright, this is it. It's the 1/35 scale M4A3 76 wet VVSS Late by Asuka. Now I have to first give credit where credit is due, and that is to Harold Adams, my friend from back east here in the United States. He sent me this out of the blue, knowing that I like Shermans. So he sent it to me and said, here you go, have at it, do a wonderful job on it. So Harold, if you're watching this, as always, thanks a lot. Huge gesture, I really appreciate it, and I'm thoroughly going to enjoy this. So I'm not going to do a big detailed kit review on this because, you know, there's plenty of them out there, I'm sure. Not too many on the Asuka that I've seen, but I'm going to talk a little bit about what's in the box and what was included as extras from Harold to go with the kit. Alright, first the paperwork stuff. Got the instructions, just usual instructions. If you've ever built one of these things, you know, of any kit, you get instructions. Then you have a page about the markings. Looks like the decals that are included. There's 6th Armored Division Germany 45 and 752nd Tank Battalion Italy 1945. And I need to figure out which one I'm going to do. So I'm going to do a little research and see what I can come up with. Now all of this stuff comes in plastic bags, and I've already cut these open because I don't want to bore you with watching me struggle with little staples. Sorry, allergies. So we've got 3 sprues of the wheels and bogies and that stuff. Comes with 3 different types of wheels. The open spoked, the press spoked, and then just the flat. The detail on it's really good. Casting marks, all that kind of stuff. Won't have to do too much as far as detailing, but I'll get into that later. Mainly stuff like drilling bolt holes on the side opposite of the return rollers, stuff like that. That was sprue B, by the way. And then we have sprue J. I'm not doing any of these in any particular order. The front of the transmission cover, hull parts where the final drives go, mantlet, 2 types of guns, other small parts, bolt strips for the transmission cover. That is sprue J. Then we have sprue O, which it looks like louvers for the engine deck, I'm assuming. More hull parts, the part of the upper engine deck right behind the turret, exhaust deflectors, I believe, yep, and just other small, you know, the exhaust. Sprue O. Sprue E, sides of the lower hull, the bottom, the rear plate. This, I believe, is the bulkhead that goes, you know, between the fighting compartment and the engine compartment. And that is sprue E. Then we have sprue C, which is quite a few different parts here. Bolt strip for the top of the transmission cover. The rear tray that goes in the back, upper hull. I think these are bolt strips that go along the sides, various small fittings, front fenders, commander's hatches and cupola, driver and radio operator's hatch, Pioneer tools, the idler wheel attachment points. I'm going to talk about those a little more in depth in the actual build process, but I like the way Asuka does these. Some other brands do it too, but I like the way it's set up to allow for adjustment to keep your track tension right. The bow machine gun and the coax machine gun. Detail on those is really good, and I really like the fact that they are pre-drilled. And not only are they drilled, but they have, like, on the end of the barrel, there's like a slot that goes across, I guess maybe for barrel removal, I'm not sure, but there's a slot across, and then, you know, it's got the hole in the barrel. I like that that's already done, so I don't have to mess with that and worry about drilling it off center or something weird like that. So that is sprue C. Sprue H, which is the upper hull, as you can see, and the sponson covers for underneath. Not much to say there. Really nice. There's a bit of cast texture on this part here that's a cast part as opposed to a flat plate. I'm not sure if I'm going to texture it up a little bit. There's a little tiny bit of flash right here. Should be easy to remove. Some weld bead detail there, weld bead detail here. And it's nice that they do their weld bead detail slightly above flush. There's some manufacturers, I think Tamiya is one of them, especially on their older kits, those weld beads are sunken down in, and it should be more raised like this, so that's really cool. Yep, looking pretty good. Sprue H. Then we have two sprue A, which comes with 3 different types of drive sprockets, 2 different types of idlers, and then final drive covers. Not much to look at there. The detail's good. It always is on the Asuka kits. They do a weird thing though, and I guess it's, in one way it's okay, in another way it's kind of weird, but the attachment, the sprue gates are in between the teeth as opposed on the end like some. But if you have some good nippers and you can cut that down, you know, really close, maybe use a hobby knife to kind of scoop out most of it, and then you use a really small file. It's easier to use a round file to file that little nub out of there, because sometimes when you cut the, and it probably wouldn't even really be noticeable, but if you're not real careful and you cut the sprue gate at the tooth as opposed to the you know, in between, it can misshape that tooth a little bit if you're not careful. So I guess it's kind of cool that they do it like that. There's 2 sprue A's, 1 for each side. Then we have another sprue H, which is the turret, and now that's weird. There's a lot of flash on this one. I've never seen this much flash on an Asuka kit. There's some around the this little periscope mount that swivels. There's quite a bit around those parts there. That's kind of weird. Never noticed that on an Asuka kit before. Interesting. But anyway, it's easily cleaned up. And then the turret here. It's a little bit of stuff we'll have to clean up, which is going to mess up the cast texture. But generally on turrets, I like to redo the cast texture on Sherman turrets because sometimes it's a little subdued, and I like to do it with some putty. But anyway, that's another sprue H. All right, now we have a sprue M, and looks like these are fender extensions to go on the sides. Now, I'm not sure if those will be used in this kit. Doesn't look like it. This is probably one of those common sprues that come in different kits. But then it's got this oval loader's hatch, which I'll be using. So that's probably why this is in here. Platform here, maybe. Is that a platform? Or maybe that's the cushion that goes on the inside of that. Keep the dude from bopping his head. And then small details for the hatch. More fenders. Again, I think those might be for, like, say, an HVSS tank. One with the horizontal volute suspension, where it's a little bit wider. But that's sprue M. And we have sprue Z, which is ammo boxes, pintles for the machine gun, the mounts, barrels, the actual receiver portion, the spot where the barrel attaches, belt of ammunition. The Asuka machine guns I really like the detail on them. Sometimes they have a little bit of a sink mark in the bigger parts, but it's not that big a deal. The detail's really good on them. I'm going to open this bag. These are the spacers for the bogey assembly. You can either use styrene spacers, or you can use some foam spacers, which is what this is. You just cut them and put them in. That makes the suspension a little workable. I generally don't do that because, you know, I don't do dioramas where it would help to have the suspension sprung a little bit. So I use these. That way it keeps the wheels really flat on the tracks. You don't end up with the ends kind of bowed up a little bit. So that's what that is. Then there's this one here. This looks like detail parts, again, for some of the smaller stuff. This is sprue G and D. So you got spare track blocks, different type than what's on the other parts. You've got some green periscopes, lights, light guards. That's the cushion for the inside of the commander's hatch, I believe. Just various small parts for the turret and the hull. Same with this one here. It's more of the same. Wondering why it's... oh yeah, they're both G. I'm sorry, I thought they were different. But yeah, so you got all of that. Then, I wasn't going to open this, but I think I will. This is headlights, clear periscopes, and then this here, which I really like, they give you 2 G sprues, more G sprues, in plastic and in clear. And the nice thing about the clear is you can mask off the glass covers here, the armored glass, and do the same on the periscopes. You can mask those off, then paint this along with the rest of the kit, peel the tape off, you got nice clear glass. Whereas with this, you just have solid plastic color, and you have to paint it to simulate that they're glass. So that's kind of a nice touch. So they give you enough for all the periscopes on the vehicle. The last two things in the kit, you have a muzzle brake and the associated parts for the end of the barrel. If you're building, I'm not sure if this one is an either or deal. Doesn't show on the markings, and I haven't looked through the instructions yet, but this it's muzzle brake for the 76mm gun. And then the really nice, we got the decals here. I won't crack those open, they're pretty basic. I'll talk about them later, but this is what I like, is the fact that it comes with the photo-etch brass light guards. So, and periscope guards. But I don't think I'm going to be using these periscope guards because I've got some more on the way, and I'll talk about those when they get here. But a little bit of photo etch, which is always nice. Now, as for the extras that were sent with the kit from Harold, he sent these resin casting marks from Archer Fine Transfers. Now, these are really nice, and you can use this for a number of different kits, and you get all of these different markings here, so the possibilities are endless. If you're doing a specific vehicle, you could do the markings on it, the cast markings, so that's going to come really in handy. And the kit does have casting marks on it, but they're kind of a little bit shallow. And if you're going to do something like do retexturing of the cast parts, that can be damaged or just kind of overwhelmed by the casting that's, you know, done. So this will be nice because I can replace the casting marks with these, which are much more defined and a little more pronounced. So that's really super cool, and I'll be able to use that on other kits as well, which will be really nice. Then here's the really swinging part here, the Aber barrel kit. So it's got the muzzle brake, all the parts. It's just really nice, really nice. So that's going to add a lot. I mean, the plastic barrels are okay, and they generally work really good. Now it's weird, but you know, some manufacturers still do two-piece barrels, and you have to deal with the seam. It's not something that can't be handled, but these just really, the detail on these things is so nice. So thanks for that, Harold. Really stoked. And last, we've got the tracks. These are what's referred to as DS type. It's a DS is Dragon Styrene, or Dragon Styrene, is that what it is? But it's like a flexible styrene that will glue. You can glue it and it will stay. You know, it's got little markings there and there. You just, whoops, you wouldn't want to do the wrong side, obviously. But you can just glue those into place. Now, normally I like to use Kaizen tracks because they're, you know, you assemble them, they're workable, but mostly on Shermans. Now, I've used Kaizen tracks on a couple of Shermans, but for most of the time, and especially these have really super good detail on them. There's no like flash or weird mold seams or anything like that. So I'm using these because these are really, really nice. They have the extended end connectors, and they just look really, really good. But yeah, you just glue these babies together and then wrap them around, and voila, you're ready to roll. So that is that. So I'll set those aside. So that's basically the contents. So that's not basically, it is the complete contents of the box. So there you have it. That's everything in the M4A3 box. So I'm going to be starting on that here real quick. I've got to get all my stuff set up. What I like to do is behind my camera here up on the wall, I have a pegboard with, you know, my modeling supplies and stuff like that in various array. But I put small peg hooks all along, and then I just hang up all of my sprues. That way they're all spread out, laid out. I do them in alphabetical order so they're easy to find. And then as I come along, I pull them off, and as I empty them, I chuck them, and I'm good to go. Like to stay somewhat organized. And as you can see through the magic of video, that I've had a wardrobe change. Well, that's because my granddaughter came over last night while I was filming the intro to this, and granddaughters trump models any day of the week. But anyway, so here's the format I'm going to use to actually build this model. I've asked a number of times what people like as far as, do they like general updates, do they like step by step, do they like just, this is the kit I'm going to build, here's the kit all finished. And the general consensus is, and it's kind of cool because a lot of my, I don't know if a lot of, but quite a few of my viewers are, beginners. And they like to see the step-by-step process. So I think that's what I'm going to do with this. I'm going to actually do a step-by-step process of this build and how I do it, showing when I go out of order depending on what I'm doing or if I'm painting or something like that. So that's going to be the format I'm going to use, just due to demand. Now, for those who don't like or don't want to have to watch a step-by-step, I think what I'll do is once I get sub-assemblies complete, like say I get the hull completed, I'll do a video on that. When I do the turret, I'll do a video on that. Maybe if I do, the bogies and what I did, I'll talk a little bit about what I did. So I'll have like kind of two series going at the same time, if that makes sense. I'll have my step-by-step, and then I'll have just like a general periodic update for those who don't want to watch every step of the way, and then the painting and reveal and all that kind of stuff. So that is the plan. Now what I would like to do, and I'll have to look around a little bit and see if I can find some, and I know I say this every time I build an armored vehicle, but I really would like to do some figures and maybe a base, just have it sitting on like some dirt or with a few weeds or something like that, just something to just a little more than just the basic model kit. So I'm going to be looking for some figures. There's a couple of mini art tank crews that I'm thinking might be pretty good. I kind of need to determine if I'm doing something that's in cold weather or warm weather, but I really would like to do some crew in this, at least like a driver and a commander, maybe even a loader if I can find something that has some good figures, because I really want to get into doing figures. It's just by the time I get toward the end of a kit, I'm so wound up and ready to go on my next kit, I sometimes just like, well, I'll just do figures later. So shoot me some encouragement down in the comments and say, go for those figures, dude, and I will. Okay, so anyway, that's it. That's the intro for the Asuka 1/35 scale M4A3 wet, 76mm wet, with the vertical volute suspension late model. So I'm really looking forward to this kit. Like I said, I love my Shermans, and I'm looking forward to doing another one. So all of you out there watching this and stuck through to the end, thanks for watching. And until next time on Plastic Models by a Regular Dude, I will see you all later.